Ovih dana gledamo kaotične slike iz Afganistana. Govori se o odlasku američkih vojnih snaga i o tome što u zemlji ostaje nakon 20-godišnjeg rata američke i NATO-ove vojne intervencije. Ali kako je zapravo izgledalo ratno stanje na terenu? U Afganistanu je bio među brojnim reporterima i Carmen Gentile, jedan od ljudi koji je nakon toga i napisao knjigu. A riječ je o događaju iz 2010. Riječ je o događaju u kojem je bio, hodajući sa američkim marincima, napadnut u jednom afganistanskom selu, pogođen iz ručnog raketnog bacača u glavu. Evo kako je to izgledalo.
Hopefully, not too big of a threat from IEDs. The biggest threat down there is the corn. So guys, make sure you're scanning with thermals too, especially once it starts getting limited visibility, just freaking scan the shit out of that corn with those thermals. I think if we park on the left-hand side, we might, well, that tree might be in the way. There go the rockets. Yeah. All right.
I just want you to know, are you looking at what you're walking through right now?
Oh, the marijuana?
Yeah. I was just curious if you took that path on purpose or not.
Drop the bomb on it.
They're really paranoid down here because we don't get to make it down here as much as we'd like to. America, they have ducks. Here, they have goats. That's good. They got
यार अब तो सिद्धुमरा कर जमाना तो सड़ाई में गोट दुमरा न कर जाओ खास ये पड़ी तो अपन कर कुछ में बेर तराखे जाओ नॉर्मल अच्छा पता है
What I can tell, before you is 18?
Yeah.
You guys go to school here, Bargam?
مکتب تزی آلتا بگرام تاسو خلاص شوی کار کوي
ومن باقي ما سکتر کوم ناړی یم
I working with IED and yesterday I came here I don't know funny information about this.
Working with what?
IED.
IED?
Yeah. Organization.
What organization is that?
Sure today.
څوک
تاسو مؤسسه شکار
ما سجابه کړه او
No.
Hey!
No.
Hey, are you okay?
No.
Hey, wait a minute. RPG.
What I think I broke that came from behind with the way you're looking over. Where you hit, sir?
In the face. How bad is it?
It's not that bad, sir. Come on.
Come on, man. I'm blind in one eye.
Go over there. Hey.
Grab my gear, man, please.
Sure. Don't worry, sir. We'll secure that shit for you.
Hey, fucking scan that way, Vega! Bilal, I'll shoot. Camera's done. Yes, sir. Am I gonna lose the eye?
You're not going to lose your eye. not gonna lose it. Your eyelid's fine. It's right next to your eye. Hey, put that shit down, Carmen.
Just seeing if I can see out of
Hey,
it.
dude, it's fine. All right, listen to me. You're fine. I seen it and shit. Your eye's still baby blue. All right, calm down.
I think my face might be broken. LT, how are you? I'm in pain, man. How is you? Been better.
I saw the trail of smoke coming out.
So did I.
It exploded when it done, man. I don't know what hit.
Carmen se nakon ovog napada oporavlja 8 mjeseci, izgubio je dio vidnog polja, a u svoje lice ima ugrađenu metalnu pločicu. A Carmen je danas s nama uživo u Novom danu, jedan od reportera koji radi za brojne američke medije i dalje je nastavio svoj posao kao reporter, izvjestitelj, u međuvremenu napisao i knjigu. Carmen, good morning.
Good morning.
It's so great to see you again.
Great to see you too. How have you been?
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Wow.
Well, we just saw that emotional footage. Probably that was the most emotional for you. I guess you've been asking a lot of time the same question. How does it feel to be actually shot in the face with RPG walking on Afghanistan?
You know, what's funny about that is that your viewers just got to see that, and I've only seen it once, and they probably don't know this because I wasn't on camera, but I had my head down the whole time.
Yeah.
I've only seen that the one time. It never goes away. That was 11 years ago almost, and it's yesterday, you know. It almost like plays in a continuous loop in my life, in my mind, but I have to figure out how to be productive and look forward. And you know, I'm a father, I've got a Croatian daughter here, I gotta be focused on that, and it's always going to be a part of me, but it's something I have to incorporate and try to help me make me a better person, not let it drag me down.
You actually put a lot of effort in your reporting, trying to, you know, make people understand what's really going on in Afghanistan, Iraq, and many other, you know, conflict zones. Do you succeed with that? Do actually reporters, the journalism, succeed to actually make a story what's really going on in the places like Afghanistan?
Well, you know, when I was reporting a lot in Afghanistan, I always made it a point to talk to regular people and to the lower ranking soldiers, because it was the regular people, the Afghans, who were suffering and fighting and dying and had to live that reality every single day. And the same with the young guys, you know, young men and women who were on the front lines fighting that war. They were the ones fighting, dying, sacrificing, watching their comrades in arms die and go home wounded, sometimes without limbs. And it was my goal always to let readers know or viewers know that there's a very human toll on all of us, whether we're on the front lines there or anywhere in the world. This affects us all. It affects Croatians. You know, now with what's happening in Afghanistan, there could be a flood of immigrants again like there were in 2015. This is something that's going to impact people here. It's something they need to be prepared for. We need to think about ourselves as being part of one big global community in a situation like this, and how can we all help out and you know, for the betterment of us all, assist the Afghan people. Did I succeed in doing that? Well, considering what's happening now in Afghanistan, it looks like I didn't. And it, you know, breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart also because, you know, we put a lot of effort trying to make people understand what's going on, and then after 20 years, which was considering one of the longest war that U.S. actually has been conducted, what has been an achievement?
Well, you know, over those last 20 years, women in Afghanistan have had their lives improve in a lot of ways. In some parts of the country, in the urban centers, there's more access to education, higher education, and even some rural parts of Afghanistan. There's been more education for women, and not just religious education. There's been a sense of hope among you know, young girls that they could grow up to be doctors, engineers, anything they want to be. Those hopes are being dashed right now, and it's being destroyed. the Taliban has said, oh, we're going to respect women's rights within the confines of Sharia law. Well, we know what the confines of Sharia law are. And we've already seen and heard reports of the Taliban taking over rural villages as they were consolidating power around the country, forcing women out of schools, back to wearing burqas, and the cruelty that they've exhibited to the Afghan soldiers that they were fighting. There have been reports of them mutilating bodies, as a calling card to the others. Hey, don't stand up to us, or you're going to face the worst that we have to offer. And that's probably why the Afghan army, among other reasons, dropped their arms for the most part and said, we're not fighting for this corrupt government that's not paying us, that's not feeding us, that's not giving us the ammunition we need to fight this war. It's heartbreaking, I have friends on the ground there now who are running for their lives. They're in hiding. Afghan journalists. I've been spending the last few days frantically trying to get one of them out. He should have been on a plane not just days ago, years ago. He's been under so much, there's so much danger for him to report. He should have been gone. And now he's in hiding. He's got 3 small children, and I'm just trying to figure out a way to get him out. And we're working with a large group of journalists who have worked with him, State Department, number of people, and hopefully we can get him out in the next few days or so.
Yeah, there was a large amount of, unbelievable way that, country collapsed in terms of a couple of weeks.
Right.
And now there is much more surprise, the way of talking coming from Taliban. Do you believe them that they want to do some kind of society which will respect the women's rights, given education, and trying to have a relationship with other countries?
No, I don't believe them. Not for a second. That is not going to be the case. Will other countries have relationships with them? Absolutely. The Taliban has already had talks with China. They've reached out to Russia, ironically enough. The U.S. closed its embassy in Kabul, but the Chinese, the Iranian, and the Russian embassy are all open. Those relationships are going to grow, and they're going to be a disservice to both the United States and the European Union, for sure. That's going to come back to haunt us for years to come. And, as an American, I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I feel terrible for what we put the world through, what we put them through. This is a horrible, horrible moment. I hate to say that.
You write a latest article trying to put a couple of questions, and one of those questions is, and then we also put that questions on, looking those chaos scenes from Kabul airport. Is it might end on any other way that just, decision of withdrawing of U.S. troops in that, small amount of time?
Right. I'm not a military tactician, but I've been on the ground enough there to say, in my opinion, if the United States and coalition forces had kept 8,000 to 10,000 troops there at Bagram, at the airport, the military side of the airport in Afghanistan, in Kabul, if we had maintained our special operations forces there, we could have kept the Taliban at bay indefinitely, and I don't think that would have been a problem for America in terms of our blood and sacrifice for the long term, and I think that it would have stabilized the region in a way that the United States chose to do after World War II by leaving troops in Germany, leaving troops in Italy, leaving troops in Japan. We have troops in 80 different countries around the world and in hundreds of bases. The idea that we couldn't keep a small force in Afghanistan is ludicrous to me. It's politics. That's all it is. It's shameful, shameful politics. And it saddens me.
What's happened with Afghanistan? I mean, what was the fate of those people? They are abandoned right now.
Right.
They're expecting the fate facing in the next couple of weeks, days, years. Do you expecting the massive immigration?
I would expect that, yes, I do. I think that Europe and Croatia should prepare for that fact. What we saw in 2015, you recall, there was a mass migration out of Syria, out of Iraq, Turkey, passing through Turkey and out of Afghanistan. Another one of my fixers from years ago, he went overland, all illegally, smuggled in a cargo container through Greece, and he wound up somewhere in Europe, and that's where he's living now. We're going to see that again, and I think this is why, whether we're American or Croatian or whoever, we have to all think about this in the context of it's a global problem, but it does affect me locally, and how does it impact me locally, and what do I think about these things? I think if Croatia wants to open their doors to some Afghans, I would think that would be a good idea. They are hardworking, faithful people who just want a better life for their children. And if we can provide that to them, whether we're American, Croatian, whoever, we should do that.
Do you thinking about the new chapter of writing, and let's mentioning your book, Blindsided by the Taliban? That was not really war book. It's book about the war reporter, a hope, a love. There was a lot of laugh in that book.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, you know what? There's too many of these. I don't want to condemn any of my colleagues for writing books that are serious about the war, that deal with big policy issues. But I'm not that kind of reporter. Like I said, I like to talk to people at the local level. I like to talk to young soldiers. I like to communicate on a level that I think is more accessible to people who don't even know where Afghanistan is on a map. And that's how I wrote that book, was in a way that people can access it through my own very flawed personality and experience, because we all have these flaws. We've all been through love and loss and heartache. And just because mine took place on part of which took place on a remote battlefield in Afghanistan, I wanted to tell a story that was relatable. We've all been through it. We've all lost loved ones. We've all been, broken up with and had our hearts broken. And so that was the story that I wanted to tell, that I felt I was capable of telling. And I hope that people find it, not only something with which they can relate, but then they can learn a little something about Afghanistan too. That was my little trick, hoping to trick people into caring a little bit about Afghanistan.
Yeah, what's the mood in the U.S. right now? You're coming from the U.S.
Right.
and you're writing a lot, about that decision, blaming the President Biden for that chaos
right.
on the airport. But what is the future of the U.S. politics and the U.S. military after Afghanistan?
I'm going to say something that I would be remiss to say otherwise if I were saying this just to an English language audience, but I'll say it to a Croatian audience. America is not a serious country anymore. It pains me to say this, that we can't tackle serious issues like Afghanistan because the people don't take these issues seriously. They don't care enough because they don't know enough, because they don't care enough to know enough. And when you tell them in the most basic terms possible, this is why this is affecting us all, and this is why it's, in my opinion, we should care about Afghanistan, it doesn't resonate. And like I said, I've been trying for over a decade to tell that story in a way that is impactful, emotional, and can even tug on people's heartstrings a little bit to get them to care. And for the most part, I don't think Americans care. I don't think that they're paying attention. I don't think that they realize what we've done, not only to the Afghan people, but to all those women and men who served in uniform. This is really demoralizing. I'm demoralized. I'm heartbroken. And I know they are too, because I've talked to them about it. This is such, for anyone who's lost a comrade in arms, somebody with whom they fought, and they see, their brothers and sisters dying in their arms, to have this just fall apart in a matter of days, I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. This is Vietnam all over again, but worse. Now it's worse.
So what's going to be your future, your outcome? You know, would you considering go and reporting from another conflict in the future?
Well, you know, after I finished my time in Afghanistan, I stopped reporting there to write the book. And then I went back and I was covering the war in Iraq. I covered the fighting in Mosul in 2017 and 2018. And that was some of the worst conflict I've ever seen. Some of the most horrific destruction and death, and just the cruelty that I saw on display there was really heartbreaking. And I noticed something in myself that was different from when I was covering the war in Afghanistan. When I was covering the war in Iraq, I was a father. You know, I have a Croatian daughter. And it made it really hard to tell that story because I saw children die. And not that I was insensitive to it before, but you know, you're a father. That was something that I had a really hard time grappling with and being professional. I'm having a hard time now. So I think I still have the ability, and I think that maybe that heartache makes me more compassionate. I just hope I can maintain my composure when I do it. So I would do it, yes. Yes, for sure. Because these are still stories that need to be told. I don't want to give up on it because I feel like there's so few of us that know how to do it and can maintain ourselves in these situations that it's a rare skill. So I don't want to turn my back on a rare skill that I have, but I also realize that I have to make sure that I can take care of myself as well.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you very much.